Today I talked to fellow LMU alum and teammate Bo Kimble. The name Bo Kimble will resonate throughout the halls of NCAA history into the end of time. Known for the left-handed tribute free throw for his fallen friend and fellow teammate Eric Hank Gathers, Bo Kimble was a prolific scorer who played in the most prolific offense basketball has ever known. And we're going to talk about our experiences playing basketball at Loyola Marymount University. So this is the first of a series of conversations I'm going to have with Bo as we talk all things fast break basketball. But let me give you some insight. Kimble led the nation in 1990, averaging 35.3 points a game. He was a consensus All-American in 1990. Led NCAA scoring, obviously, in 1990. WCA Player of the Year in 1990. Was two-time first-team WCC. Loyola Marymount University, retired his number 30. And Bo has played on the top three NCAA scoring teams in history. First in 1988 at 110 points per game, which was my senior year. 1989 at 112 points a game, and again in 1990 at 122 points per game, and that record still stands today. As of 2010, Loyola Marymount held the five highest combined score games in Division I history, and four of them occurred with Bo Kimble on the court. So, without further ado, let's jump into my first conversation with Bo Kimble.
That we get back to talking about this community, because I think that's one way, and that I think that's, if I'm not mistaken, it may be the tagline you use there. If change the game, change the community.
I'm the game changer, the mover, the shaker. With every basket, I'm a community maker. I'm the game changer, the mover, the shaker. With every basket, I'm a community maker.
Great question. So the No Backboard Basketball League, the vision of it is a new recreational basketball platform to provide opportunities for Black and brown individuals to actually own wealth creating assets in the sports space. Love, what's happening, man? I appreciate you joining me on the No Backboard Basketball Show. What's good, man? We talked to each other from time to time over the years. It's been a decade at least since we've seen each other's face. What's good, man? What's going on?
Oh, I'm very blessed, Brother Mark, and it's a pleasure to be with you, my man. And couldn't wait to be part of this show, to chop it up and kind of share what we're both doing. And I'm very happy for what you're doing. So I can't looking forward to getting into it.
I appreciate it, man. And I see you got that Eagles green. There's a rematch coming up this weekend. Obviously, I know who you got. What do you think the spread's going to be? You think it's going to be one of those who has the ball last games, or you think the Eagles can create some cushion?
You know what? I believe I don't know what the odds are, but I can tell you that both teams deserve to be there. I mean, they're the best the best teams of this year. And Kansas City has an opportunity to make history, but so does the Eagles. And as you know, being an underdog most of my life, sometimes when you get that bad taste in your mouth from a loss 2 years ago when we played Kansas City in the Super Bowl, the Eagles going to remember that feeling. And I believe that the underdogs always have an advantage coming in. They're more hungrier because they don't want that feeling to happen. So I do believe both teams are going to go down to the wire. And I just hope and pray that the Eagles have the ball at the end and not Kansas City. Because
right.
I'm a big fan of Andy Reid because he was with Philly for 14 years. And
Absolutely.
He's an extraordinary coach.
Extraordinary. One of the best. He may end up topping Belichick for that top spot if he gets a couple more. Hey, man, so before we jump into our conversation, what you been up to lately, man? More on the business side, et cetera. I know you did some coaching. We'll talk a little bit about that. But is anything you want to share with those tapping into this that know you from back in the day, et cetera, any kind of what you're doing on the professional side, anything you want to share with us?
Well, I'll start off with the coaching. For years, my dream is to be a Division I head coach, basketball head coach. I've coached for the first time as a head coach last year at Overbrook High School in Philadelphia. And that
Mm.
was a great experience. I ran Paul Westhead's system and had an extraordinary time there. About 12 years ago at Shoreline Community College in Seattle, we ran the system there and had the best success in 20 years at a
I
community college.
remember that.
And that was an extraordinary experience implementing the system there. And so the foundation 44 for Life is in honor of Hank Gathers. Hank Gathers' number was 44. And so I started a foundation, a nonprofit called 44 for Life. We want to decrease, our mission is to decrease sudden cardiac deaths, put the defibrillators in all public places, and spread awareness and let everyone know that defibrillators are fully automated. So also, other than that, I've been doing real estate. Been investing an investor for about 22 years, and that's my passion as well. But the foundation is what I'm most passionate about, saving lives and giving back to the community.
Excellent, excellent. Well, there's a couple of things that you're doing that definitely aligns. I definitely want to do something with the 44 Foundation, some type of fundraiser, et cetera. When we get into our conversation, I have a story about him, man. We got stories. So,
We got a
and
ton of stories.
all types of stories. Hey, so uh, I do have an objective with this conversation. So let's start off with uh, your year. We're going to pick up the conversations, your years at LMU. Okay. You came from after you were all Pac-10. You were an all Pac-10 freshman player. I believe Hank was an all Pac-10 freshman player. I'm not sure. But you guys transferred in and you came over with Corey Gaines, and the three of you redshirted for a year, which was my junior year. How was it? Because I think any hooper, anybody who loves the hoop, would love being on the other team during our practices, especially when we're scrimmaging, because it's probably the best organized street ball you're going to get. And our practices were, well, you tell people how our practices were. So my question is, how was it coming from that experience? Your first exposure was to the system, and you had a whole year practicing it before you made your debut the following year.
Well, definitely having that red shirt year to get, stronger, more mature. And then, as you said, playing the system as a red shirt really was a big difference. Uh, Going from USC, playing for Stan Morrison and David Spencer was like another world because they were slow to ball down, run plays, and Paul was all about shoot or shoot every time, run to your spots. It's the most organized to the public. It's the most organized street ball you'll ever be able to see. And it looked chaotic to the public, but as you know, everything was we had spots that we ran to. We knew where each other was going to be, and the elephant in the room was conditioning. And
Yeah.
so you may have guys that may be you may have better personnel on your roster, but the conditioning is the elephant in the room. And normally, most teams didn't respect Loyola Marymount. We was a small school, and until they got caught up in the system, they understood that you know uh, David can beat Goliath, and the conditioning pretty much just surprised everybody because the conditioning was extraordinary.
You nailed it on the you nailed it on the head. I a few years ago I had the opportunity to do high school basketball for the first time. Like came off the sidelines as being in corporate, started coaching, took over a group of kids, implemented the system, tied a little triangle on the back end. So we would come into the system. We never stopped. We would just flow right into triangle motion. And the thing I've always, the point I always made to everybody, all things being equal, the person in the best condition is going to win. And to your point, I took not mediocre. I took average athletes who were skilled and high IQ, and we would go out and beat the athletes on a regular basis. Because in addition to the conditioning, I think that's being conditioned to play at a certain pace. What's your thoughts on just being able to play at a certain pace?
Well, most of our opponents, even though they were extraordinary athletes, the conditioning wasn't as superior as ours. And so they may be able to sustain that for maybe, a large portion of the first half. But some point late in the first half and all throughout the second half, there was always a breakdown period where they start making turnovers when when they're going at that pace. Sometimes they're trying to play perfect basketball at that pace. Their coaches are telling them, whatever you do, don't run with those guys. Let's make sure we get a bucket each time. So when we're playing reckless and trying to steal every pass everywhere, and you're trying to play perfect pass basketball, well, good luck with that. And it was usually to our advantage because we normally took teams out of their tempo. Another thing, when a certain opponent is used to playing at a certain pace, and you speed up everything, you're actually taking them out of their equilibrium. Everything's off. Their rhythm is off. Their timing is off, and it's really like they're having an outer body experience. And because we full court trap the entire game, you don't have a safe haven on the court as long as the ball is in play. The point guards knowing somebody's coming from behind. The shooters know somebody's tracking you down to challenge your shot, and et cetera. So it's an extraordinary, chaotic style of play, but not chaotic for Loyola Marymount.
When did you buy in? Because what I'm hearing is you bought into the condition. And I'm going to tell you from my experience being there in the beginning, right? So I played for coach for 3 years. I was there his first year. I saw him break players down. I saw our conditioning break young men down, force young men to transfer. I saw walk-ons who think they want to be part of the show come out and within a week raise their hand and check out. When did you buy into, okay, for me to do what I want to do, I have to be in good condition. Now I'll say this. I never viewed you as someone that got tired, to be honest. And I don't know if you had that natural stamina gene or if you made the decision, I'm going to buy into conditioning. But when did you buy into conditioning being a part of being successful in the system?
Well, I always had great respect for all my coaches, but particularly Paul Westhead. I had great respect for him. A former NBA championship coach, and so Paul knew what he was doing. So as a wing player in the system, I didn't really have on a full scholarship. I didn't have a choice. I didn't get the option to buy in or not buy in. That was the deal. And I also felt throughout, not just at Loyola, but whenever I was on the court, I just gave 100% every single time. So even if we had a suicide penalty run, I just always just did the best I could with the best I had at that moment. So obviously the two fastest guys on our senior team was Terrell Lowry and Tony Walker. But whether it's a penalty run, whether it's suicides, whether it's cycles, I just always push myself to just do the best I can. So in doing so and running in that system and running the sand dunes and you just automatically are in superior shape. And so once I got up on the court playing against the opponents, it was just like it was just I was on autopilot. The practices are tremendously much more harder than the games. And Corey Gaines talked about that. Our practices were, with two out of a 3 hour practice, we're doing all running and conditioning stuff for 2.5 of those 3 hours. So the game time was really a walk in the park.
So there's two things there, man, and they tie together. I've been preaching that to teams forever. Practice harder than you have to play. Practice harder than you have to play. The game slows down.
one of the things, the feedback we get from guys who come out and play basketball to remix, uh, and setting the no backboard hoop aside, is the fact that it's a much faster game. We made the rules to limit stoppage and increase pace. And so why? Because we see it as the basketball development platform using that principle. We're going to get you used to playing at a faster pace on a more difficult hoop. When you go back and play basketball, that thing is going to slow all the way down. You're going to see things you didn't normally see, and you're going to be hitting shots you didn't normally hit. My question to you is, where did that character from you come from who always give it your best? Is that
Yeah, for me, my entire experience was when I from 10 to 18, I was playing against guys that was 10 to 15 years older than me. So everyone I was playing against was bigger, stronger, faster, and better. So
chaos?
when you're getting,
I have to interrupt you just
yeah,
because you just gave me the answer I was going to ask earlier. That is why your release is way up here, because from a young age you had to shoot the ball over dudes.
yeah, it was extraordinary, Mark. And when you're playing against bigger, stronger, faster, better, 8 and 10 hours a day, I was being pushed around as a young buck. Guys that are stronger supposed to take the ball. Guys that are faster supposed to blow by you. Guys that's better supposed to kick your butt. So then by the time I got around 14 years old, maybe 15, but between 14 and 15, Bo Love came to town. There's a new sheriff in town. And so I knew that with the ball in my hand at the end of any game against anybody, I knew that I was unstoppable because my neighborhood created me to be that way. And I'm talking about playground legends that could have been in the NBA and had, careers. So you hear a lot of people refer to playground legends. I played against all of them. So in order to be the best, you got to come through the best. And I wouldn't trade that inner city Philadelphia city basketball style of play for anything because I knew that even if you're bigger, stronger, faster, and better, I'm getting ready to kick your butt and you're getting ready to lose because that's all I knew. So when you talk about your question was, how did you adapt to giving 100%? I didn't have the opportunity to give 60% because I would be sitting on the sideline and waiting 5 games to play again because when you lose, you got to sit. So I didn't get
That
that
is
luxury, and that was my story. And I'm sure Hank
no,
had a similar story as well.
not just Hank. That's my story. That is the story of the majority of the hoopers of our era, right? Because we didn't have cones and trainers, and we didn't have all that. It was the simple formula back in the day that was communicated to us young bucks. You want to hoop, you want to be better, you got to go play against the older kids, the older men. So the same thing you said, I would walk up the street about sixth, seventh grade, and from then until I got to high school, I was playing against the men and the older kids, right? And we had our handful of legends that would come through, our local legends that come through. And the other beautiful thing is, at least back then, in my experience was, if those OGs saw you had something, they was always trying to nudge you in the right direction. And say, young buck, you don't need to mess with that, young buck.
Yep.
You need to, because you got something there.
Well,
So
they saw something in you, Mark, like they saw in me. And I had guys that was heavily into game worn and drugs or whatever they were into. And whenever they were about to start something at the playground, they say, "Young boy, get out of here. Young buck, get out of here." In less than 4 minutes, bullets are flying. Somebody
yeah,
stabbed somebody. They didn't want me
yeah,
to be a part of it. They just gave me and most guys, most of the kids today, now everybody's just shooting recklessly. They don't care who's around. They don't care about collateral damage. The old heads back during our era, they wouldn't attack somebody around kids and around a lot of people.
that's what's up. That's what's up. Excellent. So you come into the first season, my senior year, 87, 88. We start the year
Our best
off.
year, by the way, at Loyola, in my opinion, I think is the best team.
You
You
know what?
never heard me say that, but
I've been saying that, but I'm going to point something out. I'm going to point something out that's, and I'm going to say it right here. I would agree with you, except for this. You and Hank are much better players So your senior year bowl's better than my sophomore year bowl, and the senior year Hank is better than at all the other positions. There's a tug of war because uh, one of those guys does something a little bit better than the other guy, and they each have their thing, right? No one's getting up to court with Tony Walker. No one's getting up to court with Tony Walker, right? Uh, Terrell is probably the blend of Tony and Corey,
Yep.
right? And then you got Enoch when you come to Enoch and so I think the other positions can neutralize themselves out, or within our family we can have the argument that the difference is tight. But then when you add you and Hank, you guys are just better versions when you're seniors than you were sophomore. If we got the 87, 88 team got the 89, 90 Hank and Bo, now that's an interesting conversation. But I'm comfortable at this point in my life saying, as far as the best team that could have went out and won the national championship was that 89-90 team. That's
Yeah, I agree with that part. Yeah, from a
yeah,
national championship standpoint, I strongly believe if Hank wouldn't have died, that we would have won the national championship. And that's no disrespect to UNLV.
no, at all. And we'll come to that. So that first year, what's interesting is your orientation with LMU basketball is constant full court trap, etc. My orientation, that was implemented my senior year. So coach's first 2 years, we ran the system, but we didn't run the full court trap. And what's interesting is our per game point jumped 30 points in one season. So that first year, which was a good year, and uh, again, this is an example that you actually made a difference. We went 3-3. I want to make a note that before our conference started, I told our KXLU that we were going to go undefeated. We were going to go undefeated in conference. We was going to win everything. You come back. I don't think you played in New York when we did St. John's. I think after you came back, and then we went on a 25-game win streak.
27.
Was it 20?
Yeah, 27 games in a row, man. Yeah.
So we had that.
The longest
No,
winning streak that
right.
year.
We ended up 28-4. Right. 27 games straight. We lost to North Carolina. What's your reflections on that first year of you actually playing competitive basketball in the system with that group you had?
Well, the first year, as I was saying, we were solid with you and Mike Yotes.
Yep.
We had Hank, myself, we had Jeff Fryer, but Corey Gaines, NBA level guard. We were tough as nails. We played great together. What I remember is a couple of experiences. I just remember no matter how many shots Jeff and I were missing or Enoch was missing, no matter how many shots we were missing, he would always keep telling us, bombs away, keep shooting. So one other, like in our conference championship against Santa Clara, I remember being about 2 for 16 in the first half. And Paul at halftime was like, hey, let's try to keep looking for Bo and Jeff to get Bo going. And obviously I broke the game open with 5 or 6 threes to open the second half. But as a sophomore, to have a coach to give you that kind of just, hey, just keep shooting, Bo, keep looking for your shot. That's what I remember the most. Coach, just when you have a coach that, a NBA level coach, a pro coach that encourages you and he has the confidence in you, that and you have the confidence in yourself and you put the work in, it really makes a difference for any player, because you want to get along with your coach, you want to respect your coach, but when he believes in you and push you out there to do what you do best, which in my case was scoring, I was better scorer than a shooter. And but playing in that system, I knew it was perfect for me, and I knew it was perfect for Hank's game as well.
And it showed. We set the NCAA record at 110 points a game, and that was the first indication. No one really that was the first indication that Coach Westhead was decades ahead of the game. We averaged 18 3 points a game.
Mm.
And 87, 18 3, which was a lot of 3 points. Our opponents only averaged 9. So we shot twice as many 3 points. And that year we shot, as a team, we shot 42% from the three,
Wow.
which is pretty solid, right? Pretty solid.
Absolutely.
Um, yeah, very much so. So then we move into 89, 90. Uh, there's a little bump in point production. The team scores 112 points a game. We see a dip. We see 3 points go more 3 point shots. So 88, 89, the team is shooting 25 3 pointers a game against 10. But the 3 point percentage dips from 42 down to 36. And it's because you only played 18 games, I believe, that season.
Yeah, I actually missed 18 games, and I had a knee problems, and it was a little frustrating, I know, for Hank, because Hank couldn't understand, how I couldn't finish, a 3 hour practice. He thought I was kind of cutting corners and what have you. But I kept
Mm.
telling him, though I was going back and forth to Curlin and Job, and I was able to do up to like 85% on the Biodex machine for the quadricep machine. But once I got out on the court, I couldn't finish practice because I had cartilage damage. So yeah,
Mm.
so I missed 18 games because of that. And but so when I struggled, oh my God, Hank took advantage of every opportunity and
That's
was the second player ever, man, to score, to lead the nation in scoring and rebounding. Like, I think it was like 32 a game and 14 or 15 a game. And that was a big deal, man. Hank was on the I was so happy and proud of him, but he had more opportunities because he's getting all these extra touches because I'm not on the court. And Hank loved having the ball.
that is true. That is true. So first of all, I'm glad you brought that up. I don't think people frame that in the right context. Think about all of the great bigs, all of the great forwards who have played in the NCAA, right? All of the top 75 NBA
Yep.
Hall of Famers who played through the NCAA multiple years, and none of them have accomplished that feat of leading the entire NCAA in scoring and rebounding. And here's an interesting note: that the summer before that, I'm already graduated, but like most alums who are young, you still running around the campus, right?
Okay.
I'm around. I believe at that time they're living in Kindredge, which is in the summer. Kindredge, those apartments in the back of the school, not too far from the bird's nest.
Right.
I walk in his room and he's chilling on the bed, right? And so you walk in and his head is opposite you of the door, but he has this little wall at the foot of his bed. And you might have seen this. He had his goals on the wall. And
Yep.
at the very top was, I'm going to lead the nation in rebound. And that has always stuck with me. That always stuck with me, that he actually went the next step in his goal setting, put those big baby bold goals on the wall, and then he goes out and accomplishes that and more, which I think is often the case is when we really lock in to achieve our goals and we're really focused. Not only do we tend to hit it, we tend to do more than we ever anticipated. So that from that year, that was an interesting experience with Hank, and I don't think that accomplishment is framed well enough for people to get the context of how difficult that is.
And
Um,
David Spencer actually created those posters for Hank. And
oh,
he had three posters, and I had three as well. And one of the posters for me, for example, would be there's, this is just an example. There's, 17,252 seniors, high school seniors. What are you going to do? I mean, or college, seniors.
mhm.
What are you going to do today to give yourself an advantage over that 15,600? I mean, so it was kind of those kind of goal setting things. Like, what are you doing today to give yourself an advantage ahead of the other seniors that's going into the draft, or going into college. So Hank had those kind of posters as well.
Wow, that shows you how important having a team around. I try to share that with some young athletes that are out there trying to pursue this dream themselves. Like I've never seen a professional athlete get produced without a group of people in their background supporting him, doing little things like that. And you probably understand more the power of writing goals and reading them and seeing things happen. But back then, it could be like, what is this, man? What's this? But to have people around that you trust and believe in and able to take their leadership without fully understanding it is very important. I know Coach Spencer was one of those guys for you.
Well, yeah, I'll tell you one of my favorite stories from David Spencer, and David Spencer recruited Hank and I to go to USC, as you know, Mark. But David said to me my senior year, he wasn't coaching me. He was coaching, I believe, in the University of Hawaii at the time. And no matter whether we had a home game or away game, he convinced me, since he knew my game since I was 16, he planted a seed in my head. He said, Paul Westhead, you got the maximum green light as a wing player. Why would you ever start the game? Why would the first 10 shots of any game, would you ever shoot a jump shot when nobody in the world can guard you? And so we would speak before every game, whether we talk for 2 minutes, 10 minutes, or what have you. When he hung up the phone, he said, drive, drive, drive. And so I never said anything to anybody about it. I told Paul years after I, graduated. But the reason I led the nation in scoring, other than putting the work in, with my 1,000 makes, my 1,000 3-point makes, 4 times a week. But other than that, the reason I led the nation in scoring is the first 10 possession of games, I never shot a jump shot. And I drove to the basket.
I'm the game changer, the mover, the shaker. With every basket, I'm a community maker. I'm the game changer, the mover, the shaker. With every basket.